Hey everyone, I am Deflating Atheism, and I'm kind of a little exhausted tonight, but I'm going to do a live chat with some friends here, and we have JMD Apologetics. Of course, you guys have met him several times on my channel. Say hello to everyone, JMD.
Hey.
He's one for the long introductions. He has a whole trail of little names he likes to be called, and we have Dylan, who's new. So introduce yourselves to us.
Hey, yeah, I'm Sold1er Of Chr1st. You guys can check me out on YouTube. I may have a video up tonight, just depending if I have time. But yeah.
Cool. Do you do the Instagram thing?
Oh yeah, I have 2 Instagram accounts I manage. One is just my name, and then the other is Sold1er Of Chr1st.
Okay. Yeah. I saw when you messaged me on Facebook, and I kind of assumed that was you from Instagram. But yes, he does excellent excellent Instagram page, and I have an Instagram too, and mostly like just pleasing pictures, not very didactic content. But as does JMD, so we all do the Instagram thing, and we all do the YouTube thing. Yeah. So what shall we talk about tonight?
We could talk about just about anything, I guess. Like, yeah, just whatever comes to mind, I guess.
Yeah, I'm up for anything.
Yeah, well, we were just before we went live, we were talking about Johann Rotz appearing on, not appearing on, but calling into the atheist experience. And I confess that I still have yet to watch a single episode of the atheist experience. But I did not know of Johann's call-ins to that show.
Oh, doesn't he have a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
I think I'm subscribed to him.
Yeah, Johann definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah, I disagree with him on the whole idealism stuff and his introspective argument, because I am a realist when it comes to matter, but at the same time, matters depend upon mine and all that good stuff. Yeah.
I've actually kind of demur the whole issue, but when I did meet him, I asked him a question. It kind of been bothering me. I said, are you putting forward like idealism as something that's like an interesting thing that Christians can have, and they can have it in their back pocket, and they could use it as an apologetic tool, but it's not necessary? Or are you putting this forward as something that's necessary for Christianity to survive in the 21st century? And he said basically the latter. So I would disagree with him on that, but I'm not even qualified to disagree with him on the substance of idealism.
Well, in the philosophy, I can discuss that with him, but when he gets into quantum mechanics, that's definitely way above my head. I mean, surprisingly, when I had my podcast with him, I was able to keep up with him on B theory of time and how free will applies to that, and speed of light and all that good stuff as well. Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like doing my my own YouTube channel, and you guys know I goof around a lot, but I get to talk to guys like Inspiring Philosophy and Jay Dyer, and I get to talk to them as compatriots. I don't have to debate them as foes, because debating them would be really, really scary.
Yeah. Well, I have to agree with Inspiring Philosophy on what he says about, like, because I see how he does a lot of research on this stuff, and that's how he defeated Matt Dillahunty in that debate. He did his research, and of course Matt Dillahunty didn't. Yeah,
his IP is just very thoroughly researched. I think he has like a JSTOR account or something. He just goes in there and just pulls up all these academic articles and just basically buries his opponent. I'm not familiar with what he did with Matt Dillahunty, but I've certainly seen him with.
Yeah, it was about religion is harmful or beneficial for society, and of course, yeah, it is beneficial, because Matt Dillahunty couldn't give a solid reason why it wasn't.
Yeah, well, he had his little atheist talking points, basically.
Yeah.
And to borrow an expression, IP destroyed him with facts and logic and science.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, IP literally made a video called Matt Dillahunty. Oh, I almost call him Dillafarty because that video.
Matt Dillahunty versus science.
Yeah, and basically Matt relied on anecdotal arguments and then his appeal to ignorance when he accuses you of appeal to ignorance. Like every time you give him an actual false dichotomy, he'll be like, "Have you shown it to be these are the only two options?" And then if you ask him, "Well, can you give me a third option?" He goes, "No, that's not my burden of proof. That's your burden of proof." And that's just shifting the burden of proof in the wrong way and appeal to ignorance as well. But I saw this one video on the atheist experience. It had to do with the resurrection of Jesus. And, you know, the usual five approaches, or not approaches, theories to try and explain, you know, the resurrection hypothesis, swoon theory, and all that good stuff. And Matt Dillahunty accused this guy of literally an appeal to ignorance and a false dichotomy of a false dichotomy. He basically said, "Why have you ruled out time travel?" I was just like, "You are one of the dumbest people on this planet."
Time travel, like, what does that even have to do with the resurrection?
Well, it's like the alien hypothesis. You know, aliens resurrected Jesus' body to full.
Oh, aliens. Yeah, anything but God.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the thing. It has to do more like how Frank Turk puts it. How he asked, like, if Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? If they say no, then it has to do with their heart, not like the evidence or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
He just doesn't want to believe. That's all. Even in spite of all the evidence, he still won't believe because of possibly something which I don't know. Because I know I think I heard that he was going to be like a Baptist preacher, and then like. Did he change his mind or something? But I don't know.
Yeah, well, he says that for 25 years he was a fundamentalist Christian, was going to become a Baptist. But half the time he taught, he claims that makes him therefore a master of exegesis, hermeneutics, and theology. But at the same time,
that's a nice origin story in any case. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's anecdotal again if you use that. But at the same time, you know, he got asked, what would convince you that, you know, God exists and Christianity was true? And he said, I don't know, but I'm still an atheist and so on. And he doesn't know what would convince him. But then this is my favorite, you know, well, if God existed, then he would know what would convince me. But that's so self-defeating because you said you don't know what would convince you. It may just be the case that there's no such piece of evidence that would convince you because you're either poor at philosophy and logic and facts and reasoning and science, or you just don't care.
Or you're just lying about being willing to be convinced.
Well, yeah, that too.
But I don't like to go down that road unless they explicitly say that.
Yeah, I think it has to do like a lot with he doesn't want it to be true, even if he finds like a lot of evidence for it to be true. He just like doesn't want it to be true.
Well, my approach is you can go either way with that. Either he's truly not convinced, or you know there's some conspiracy going on or whatnot. Just point out the evidence and then show how he's being irrational, and then there has to be a reason behind it. We may not know what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, there are a lot of possible ulterior motives. He is making money being an atheist. I mean, you could say that. I mean, I think a lot of atheists do get a charge from being the iconoclasts and you know seemingly to dissent from what may be a mainstream opinion, or just holding it over the opinion, just holding it over the heads of Christians that they are the intellectually superior class. A very cheaply bought sense of superiority, where all you have to do is mouth basically these little slogans, and suddenly you're ushered into this superior class of intellect. So I think there could be a lot of possible ulterior motives for people going into atheism that has nothing to do with any sort of intellectually compelling reason, because as you guys know, nobody shirks their burden of proof quite like the atheist when you ask them, well, why are you an atheist?
Yeah, well, like Godless Cranium was saying how like he used to be a Christian. And all. I'm like, no, you were just a false convert. Like, if you were actually a Christian, you wouldn't have converted to be an atheist. Like, here's the thing: as a Christian, you know, I do my best at looking for more evidence, because if atheism were actually true, then there'd be no purpose to life, and there wouldn't be a point of living life. Now, if it were,
I would be careful when you say those kinds.
Well, yeah, definitely. That's the thing is, I'm, you know, raised in a Christian home. It's just I can get emotional sometimes about like when I see stuff like. Well, that's the thing, you know, I'm new to all this stuff, so I'm still kind of learning. But
well, when you say they weren't sincere Christians, I think that's, to be fair, sometimes false. And
yeah,
this is something reformers irritate the crap out of me about when like Reformed Christian apologists, me and him have been having beef, but I'm probably not going to associate myself with him that much longer. But at the same time,
I've been having beef with everyone because I've been I've been hearing a lot of ill things about him.
Yeah, well, I mean, he accused me of essentially being a heretic sympathizer because my friend who does videos is a modalist. Of course, I think that's bad, but at the same time, he thinks he's going to hell. And when I talked to 7 Reformed professors, they disagree, and they're familiar with the early church fathers and what heresy actually is and how salvation works. But anyway, he believes that all atheists are essentially psychologically fooling themselves, because he takes Romans 1 to say that you know God exists, absolute certainty, independent of evidence or whatnot, but, you know, psychologically speaking, it's hardwired in you, and you deny it subconsciously.
Well, not independent of evidence, just that the evidence is known to all.
yeah,
Well, yeah, that's Romans 1, but he's taking the approach that psychologically they cannot not be atheists, essentially, that they can't be unconvinced either due to bad reasons or problem of evil or whatnot.
And I feel that is the case for many of them. I can't say as a fact that's the case for all of them, and I don't think it's very productive in debate to say to their faces, that's bulverism.
Yeah,
that's bulverism.
Yeah, I think it has to be like,
because why?
I think it has to be like learned. Like when you're at a young age, I would agree that it's somewhat hard. You know, like Inspiring Philosophy's videos about it. But yeah, I think it could be definitely hardwired into you from the beginning when you're born. But I think it has to be because.
Well, I say it's self-evident that God exists. But
oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Because he believes the revelation is infallible, which, in a sense, I do agree. But at the same time, he's saying that it cannot be doubted that God exists, and I think that's empirically false. I think people can have bad reasons for holding a Christian belief, and I think we see that in the church all the time. We see the hypocrisy of the church and the problem of evil as well. I think that makes many people turn away, and that's why I advocate for apologetics.
It's hard being a Christian sometimes. Like I'm in a Boy Scouts right now.
Well, you want to be a Catholic right now, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a Boy Scouts right now, and next week I'm gonna be preaching to them about. I'm probably gonna preach to them about like how it's hard being a Christian, but nothing can stop you from like doing God's will. Like I saw that post about how like if the sea couldn't stop Moses, if a wall couldn't stop Joshua, if death couldn't stop Jesus, then nothing can stop you from doing God's will.
I am pleasantly surprised that they allow you to do that in the Boy Scouts in 2018.
Oh yeah, it's
Stalinist indoctrination or something at this point.
Oh no, they're all Christians in my troop, but yeah, we're just gonna be going to this scout camp out somewhat like 45 minutes away from where I live, and there's a little chapel there, and I'm just gonna preach to them about this sort of thing because I think it's somewhat important.
Awesome. Yeah. What I really think is essential is for all these churches with youth groups that they do make some sort of attempt at an apologetics presentation. I think surely Frank Turek would be more than happy to do a presentation pretty much at any church. I mean,
well, I actually contacted a youth group recently from Instagram. It's sort of funny, you know, this is sort of like divine predestination, but yeah, we were truly free in a sense. But getting off that, you know, my one friend who I went to youth group for, you know, like 4 years with, he followed this one Instagram page, so I checked it out, and they're at where I work, and you know, I communicated with them and emailed them about, you know, doing an apologetics thing at their youth group, and they already incorporate apologetics into it. So she's like, "Oh, that's great. We need more youth groups like you," and so on.
Yeah, it's because that's the thing is, you know, a lot of young Christians will leave the church because, you know, they'll be taught something that goes against their faith, and that's why I think it's important that we teach them apologetics at a young age, so they know that yes, that Jesus did really rise from the dead, and we can have an evidential faith.
yeah,
That's why I think J. Warner Wallace is a big inspiration. He's really helped me in my faith, but I think he's a really big inspiration for Christians because, you know, he's got good detective skills, and he uses them to examine the Gospels, and that's why he's my top favorite apologist, which that's going to be my next video, is my top 5 favorite apologists, and he's pretty much top because, you know, I just really like his personality and his approach to the Gospels.
Yeah, and coming from his forensics background, it's really really persuasive.
Oh yeah.
So I'm looking in the chat right now, and the like ratio and you already have 2 dislikes. So
yeah.
Well, I mean, people are surprised. I had a video of me like shooting my apartment, doing a tour of my apartment, and someone was like, "This gets dislikes." I'm like, "It's a Christian, it's an anti-atheist channel. It gets dislikes on everything, you know. It just comes with the territory." Granted, it's not as bad as it used to be. When you get a few subscribers, then you have a nice little cushion of people who have you on notification, and so it's not like, you know, 100 dislikes and like three likes, which is what it used to be. And like years before I even got on YouTube, I would watch Christian YouTube channels, and it was horrible back in like 2010 or so. It's like I know I saw like Inspiring Philosophy, and I think I definitely saw Johann and Roth's videos. It may not have been 2010, maybe a little bit after then, but yeah. I mean, I saw most of those guys, and a few guys who are no longer around, unfortunately. But I mean, they would always have like a 10-to-1 dislike to like ratio. It was ridiculous because the Thumbbot squad was in full effect.
Well, SJ Tamansa did like 11 questions for atheists, and Aaron Raw did a response, and like all these, she has 3,000 comments responding to all the questions, and then her literally 15 likes to 500 some dislikes.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I don't think like we should be posting videos like that, like 10 questions for atheists, because like,
why it swoops down to their level.
Yeah, well, even then, I think that like eventually they'll keep, you know, asking more questions, but soon they could run out of questions, and then they'll have to think of more. So
no, they're keep asking the same stupid questions over and over again.
Exactly. We just keep answering them like, "Hey, you got your answer."
Well, real quick, you know, there's this phrase, "There's no stupid question," but that's completely false, because you get the same stupid question all the time that you repeatedly answer. I answer sarcastically in like almost video I do. Or, you know, I just apply something, you know, who created God type deal.
Honestly, like that's like the worst objection to theism ever, because like you only see people like Richard Dawkins and the New Atheist asking that question, and you know, it keeps getting asked over and over again.
Yeah, I actually disagree that it's the dumbest question. But yeah.
Well, it's not if you truly say that, you know, why or what made the universe, and that's your only argument, then you can easily ask, well, what made God? So on, like if your standard is something had to be made, and you're not thinking about contingency or something necessary in its nature and stuff like that. If you're not talking about the philosophy, like to the average Christian nowadays, who created God is like the stumping question that destroys their faith. And when you think about that philosophically,
I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I used to actually kind of believed in something dumb. Like when I was little, I believed that like I guess like God was an angel, and then he like I guess he was turned into God. But of course, I was still little back then, so I didn't know. But until I watched the Kent Hovind versus those three professors, how he like just like destroyed them with that question. Like they asked him who created God, and Kent Hovind just gave them the best response.
DA, I really have to disagree with you from my experience and what I've seen online and stuff like that. Just okay. I've talked to like 16 and 17-year-olds who aren't Christians because they didn't get an answer to who created God. I mean, that's pretty bad, I think.
Again, I mean, we're all just speaking from our own experience.
Yeah,
My experience, I find that a little hard to believe.
I mean, the statistics that Turk and so on point out were 75% of college students aren't Christians anymore because not necessarily who created God, but either anti-intellectual Christians or whatnot. I think we all agree that Christians need to start doing more apologetics and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Definitely. What I can't accept is that it's somehow intellectually unfulfilling as opposed to atheism, which is. I mean that I will not buy that for a second.
Well, I mean, if you define atheism as just a lack of belief, there's nothing to
of course.
Anyway.
It is the rational scientific position that is also shared by tree stumps and infants, babies raised by wolves. Yeah. Well, we were talking about something else though. I can't remember what it was, but that there was.
I don't know either.
Yeah,
I'm sort of like I just did like a 3-hour video. I just uploaded it. Like I got through God's crime scene. And I do book reviews for good apologetic books and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that reminds me of when we did the 12, and I will give the atheists, I will give them some slack. I think that the title was meant ironically and it was meant as provocation, but it was like 12 questions Christians can't answer, and Red Pill
20, I think
that, and then JMD on his own. But that's what you were talking about, where it was just the same question over and over again.
Yeah, well, I think it's even like more ironic how they call them unanswerable questions. Like they've already been answered, and it's so silly how they keep calling them unanswerable questions.
You're talking about the non sequitur show one?
Oh yeah, the unanswerable questions.
Is that the one you're talking about, DA? Or are you talking about the one where I brought the list of 20 questions that commonly asked questions?
No, those are questions that you wrote though. That's not what I'm talking about. No,
okay.
I'm talking about when the atheist YouTubers. It was actually done by what's his name? It's been so long since I've even talked about them. The non sequitur show guys.
Yeah.
Well, not the non sequitur show guys, but the guy behind non sequitur show arranged this, and he edited it together. And somehow, in doing so, he didn't think it would be a bad look that 4 of them asked the same question, including himself. He was at the end, and he asked like a 4-minute question, so he gave himself pride of place at the end. But yeah, apparently he didn't want anyone to feel left out, so he just had 3 other people asking the same question.
Well, with Kyle's question at the end, I was just like, I kept thinking, make sure you put your answer in the form of a question. And in this case, make sure you put your question in the form of a question, not a 3-paragraph long rant. Just ask, does the Bible truly promote, rape and slavery, which of course is false.
Yeah. To be quite honest, I did not watch that video in its entirety. I was kind of shuttling through it, and I saw how long the question was.
Yeah, I watched through some of it, and I thought it was pretty good.
The our response or the
it's the non sequitur, the response to the 10 unanswerable questions.
Oh, where they did that like full. Oh, okay, that one.
Yeah, that one. I was making a reference to that one because it's kind of silly how like honestly unanswerable questions, like there's always going to be an answer. Like even more
good or bad.
Like even Mormons have answers to our questions, so it's kind of pointless to call them unanswerable questions.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, I'm not going to criticize them for that because I understand the spirit where it was coming from, and I think there was maybe like some Christian thing, like it was Ray Comfort or something said, the question atheists can't answer. So it's a meme. So I'm not going to criticize them for that. Yeah. And then there's also just like provocation. If you want to get a response out of someone, just say that they can't do it.
Well, Dawkins defines a meme as a corrupt way of thinking, but yeah, atheists roll memes all the time. So by their own figure, they hold to corrupt thinking.
Well, I mean, what atheism has been in the last 12 years or so is the very definition of what Richard Dawkins meant by a meme, which is it is a virulent idea that spreads from one person to another, and that's basically what atheism was. Far more virulent than Christianity is in this day, and I think that's a grand irony, and I think it's a fitting. It's very fitting that in after it all, basically the tribute to his legacy is that memes basically mean like funny cat pictures now. I think that's the fitting disgrace to his legacy.
Yeah. Yeah. So far, we haven't got any responses to our response to the non sequitur show because a lot of other videos I saw, they got responses. SJ got like a whole group of Christians to write this like 30 some page article, and that got a bunch of responses. And they actually did a live debate on the non sequitur show. I wanted to be on, but I didn't have Skype at the time. So I went on Shannon Q's after show, and it was basically me versus like a atheist.
Of course.
Yeah. And the only person who asked me a question, what they got me to admit at the end was, if you truly cannot be convinced and you don't choose what you're convinced of, I have a weird phrasing of how I view ethics of belief and so on. I did say, if you have no good reason to believe and essentially you're condemned for believing epistemically that God exists and you have no good reason, then you can be, that seems a bit unjust and so on. But at the same time, I just sort of break the horde and say, well, you have plenty of good reason to believe. And some of you, I ask Apologia, if Christ literally showed up in front of you now, like a Damascus Road experience, like you always ask, would you say it's a hallucination, or would you say,
well, I was reading
seeing the risen Christ, and he said it would be a hallucination. So that was one thing that got him.
I was reading an article about, a few months back, I guess. I couldn't even remember most of the article, but the lady who was writing it, like, she said, oh, if Jesus appeared right in front of me, I'd just say, oh, it's a hallucination. I'm like, well, like, because he appeared over to over 500 people at once, and that definitely convinced me, it can't be a hallucination because there's never been a group hallucination before. It's just not possible. Well, it could be, but it's not reasonable to conclude that it was a group hallucination.
Well, that wasn't necessarily my point. My point was that they're always asking for a Damascus Road experience, but then you can just ask.
Oh yeah,
and Matt Dillahunty, going back to him, he's always just like, I don't know what convinced me, but God would know. But perhaps there's nothing that could convince you of this proposition, like the Damascus Road experience you always ask for, and that's why he doesn't appear to you, because you would just say it's a hallucination. I mean, it's circle jerk is all it is.
There's a really tough question in there that I've never actually quite been able to define. but there's a tough question where if it's a problem with someone's heart, would it then be God's job to change that person's heart, or not? It's very, because I truly do believe there are some people who will just deny no matter what they're shown, just because
just because they deny.
Well, yeah. I think that is self-evident as well with some people, but I think when it comes to the heart issue, whether something happened to them, I do say, just sort of like the problem of hell. If people ask me, am I going to hell? I say, well, that's between you and God. I don't know what you're thinking and what's going on in your heart. So that is essentially between you and God. If you're asking epistemically whether God exists, I could give you answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But truly, God seeks those who seek after, or God rewards those who seek earnestly after him. I think that is true. But I think the people who say that they've seeked after him, the answers I get from questions that I ask, like that, the Damascus Road experience, it doesn't really seem like you're looking in the right areas.
Yeah, because what's obvious to me is that pride is the biggest stumbling block.
Yeah,
for the majority of atheists. I think pride is what gets them into atheism in the first place, quite honestly.
Well,
I'm not using that to discredit their arguments. I'm just saying that in my experience, that seems to be the case.
Well, yeah, like in J. Warner Wallace's conversion story, like they were mentioning how, like, his pride was kind of holding him back about like accepting the truth about Jesus, but he had to, face the truth that, it's true. But yeah, I think it does have to do with pride, in a way.
So someone in the chat asked, and this is sort of he asked, "Won't God create you with denial of your heart?" Well, I'm not a Calvinist, so he doesn't harden your heart or soften your heart for unreasons and whatnot. And then is free will random? No, it's agent causation, so no. Choosing between two options. Then what's the difference between the man who chooses free will to follow Jesus or one who chooses free will not to follow? Well, C.S. Lewis said, "You're saying this is my way, not your way, Lord, who is more wise than you and is the greatest conceivable being." So you're saying, I'm going to be God of my life. And God, you be God of other people's lives, but I don't want you in my life. That's the difference there, essentially. If you have full knowledge of God, of course. Just thought that should be something I should respond to real quick.
Okay. I never check out the discussions. Yeah, JMD has the answers.
Yeah, I guess I could check that on my phone since I have it right next to me. Yeah, my computer is like slow as heck, but I got it to work. But I have it up on my computer, so.
Well, Dylan, what got you into apologetics? Because, we sort of did this podcast,
yeah.
So we should press questions and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, well, it was kind of gradual. I just, I got really interested in learning more about God, and it was kind of like the first year I entered high school is when I really, got interested, in learning about more, evidential faith and stuff, but it wasn't until, somewhat of this year that I got interested in, the real stuff, I got J. Warner Wallace, Frank Turek, and William Lane Craig. But it's somewhat inspiring me to be a theologian, because I live in Oklahoma, and I go to a Nazarene church, and for college I'm probably going to go to SNU and Southern Nazarene University and study theology, because I think it's just really interesting what you can learn.
Definitely.
Oh, so do you want to be an apologist or just something in ministry and stuff like that?
Well, like I said, theology, because that's what I can study at SNU. So I could be a theologian, and but yeah, I could get into ministry, start my own ministry and help other people, just starting them off, because you got to plant the seed, because sometimes, people don't want to hear the gospel. But let's say there's somebody on the street who really needs help, Like they don't know where to go. You gotta plant that seed. You gotta tell them, hey, Jesus is the answer, and if you accept him, he will renew you. And if they get saved, then that's great. But if they don't, at least you tried.
Yeah. I just came from here in Greensboro. We have a little street festival. It's called Folk Fest, and so you walk around downtown, and there are various musical acts, and there was a street preacher standing on a corner, and he was just like shouting at people. He was very angry, and it was just like I could tell from looking around. I was like a real buzzkill for a lot of people. So it's like, don't be that guy.
Yeah, like Madwell had a video about that. Like, as a street preacher, you shouldn't be like scaring people, like saying, "Oh, you're gonna go to hell if you don't accept Christ." You should like comfort them instead, like mention, how Jesus loves you and he made the biggest sacrifice of all, so you could go to heaven.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many strategies that are counterproductive. Of course, the Mormons and the Seventh-day Adventists with their door knocking. Nobody likes that.
Yeah.
No, not that I would certainly endorse the Mormons or the Seventh-day Adventists, or in any case. But yeah, I mean those things are counterproductive. I think in the age of the internet, you're just not, even if it were productive, that's not the best way to spend your time. Now that we have the internet at our disposal.
Yeah, like door-to-door witnessing. I've never had a Jehovah Witness knock on my door, but I never understood why there's a need to like door-to-door witness. You could just start your own ministry and get people into it instead. But I don't understand like door-to-door knocking if it's
I want to ask a street epistemologist, which is basically atheist street preaching, and a Christian street preacher. What are your success rates? How many people have you won?
Oh, yeah, that's the thing is I've never actually seen a like street preacher, but I know some of them are pretty harsh with trying to get people to the gospel, but you got to do it a certain way. You can't like scare them or anything.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is sort of or are you essentially saying, should we do street preaching or online stuff or some other form of ministry instead of street preaching?
I have nothing against street preaching. We have to do it the right way. That's the thing, is we can't we can't scare people into doing it, or else they won't hear our message. If like how Madweb said, if we do it the right way, then we'll win souls.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't do like the Westboro Baptist Church and so on.
Oh, yeah.
Because 13 people make Christianity, and this was what I was talking about before, DA, with the whole created God thing. 13 people have made Christianity look like this hate-mongering, self-pride religion and so on.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're the atheist favorite Christians. So, I mean, the promotion... Truth be told, first off, their heyday is 10 years in the past. They were very media savvy. They understood kind of what it took to be on TV, and they had, if you remember, they had like music video parodies they would put on YouTube. They were like really well produced, so they were actually kind of media savvy. But the atheists just ate it up, and then they helped promote them too. So I mean, it was kind of a perfect storm. It was like, crappy people meet crappy people, and
Like I'm not the street preaching type because it's not my form of communication, I guess I would say. Plus, in some areas, I would be a bit paranoid, but because that's just how I am. Like my school, it's bad to a really bad place. You have this Christian college, no real crimes happen on it, but then literally all the surrounding neighborhoods and stuff is pretty bad. Like one kid just walked down the Sheets. He was a student. He got robbed. I mean, the first day walking down the Sheets.
Yeah.
Just like I will be sure to not walk anywhere.
That should be like college orientation. Just don't go over there.
Don't go over there. Yeah.
And I was talking to my one friend. He was just like, "Well, we should go street preaching." Be like, "Well, are you going to take up your sword, but in this case, a carry conceal 45 or something like that? You know, like Christ said to take up your sword. Which is like, probably not. Just like, well, I'll join you when you do.
Or you have to go over the bridge into Camden? Yeah. Yeah, the bad areas of where you are get bad.
Oh man.
Yeah. So what's been going on with you, JMD?
Oh, what specifically?
I mean, just tell us about what's going on with your YouTube channel. I mean.
Oh, okay. I just recently, you know, how I was talking about before I got through God's crime scene. Literally, I've been so busy with other books that it took me like 8 months to read. Not just sitting down every day to read it, but literally every once in a while I would read a chapter. And I finally read all of it yesterday, or the rest of it. And you know, she's like, "Oh, okay, I'll do this." But right now I've been focusing mostly on school. But what is nice, my major, biblical studies and philosophy, is very relevant. So if I do a paper, I post it on my website, and then I pull out sections that could be good for apologetic articles, because I try my best to relate any papers in my philosophy or theology class,
yeah,
to apologetics. And right now I have a Plato class, which is fun.
No,
yeah. Now I have a few other classes, but right now I'm working on a bigger video project. You know, I'm doing that response to 12 questions for Christians by Deconverted Man, and the amount of effort I'm putting into this video, which has grammar mistakes and questions,
is way out of proportion to what it's worth.
Yeah, but the first part, I'm going to leave the questions as they were formed for satire, basically. And I'm going to say at the beginning, I didn't type these questions out. You can check in the original video how not to spell history, and because he literally spelled history, which is just like, I don't know how you make that mistake, whether on purpose or not. Then why upload, like, these videos I'm working on are so much better than they're like IP videos. You know, I have animations in the background and they're scripted. So I'm going to upload those. I'm going to take the questions one piece at a time. Like, one was how many women were at Jesus's tomb, or how many women visited Jesus's tomb. I'm going to make that a separate video along with the other 12 questions, because if they're formed properly, then they're pretty good questions and stuff like that. So I'll be uploading those.
Yeah,
I've only got a few done, but right now I have a few people who have made some responses to them. Like Mr. Brass made a funny response, praised it, and so far Invoking Theism did one. Robert Freed may do one on Tacitus. I think I invited you, DA, if you wanted to make a response to one of the questions.
Okay.
I think you would enjoy why does God use logical fallacies to make people believe in him, or if there's evidence for God.
Very easy to answer. That's very easy to answer. I reject the premise there.
Yeah, well, have these questions. Like, one presupposes that the Bible is full of historical frauds, and then
yeah,
forged Tacitus. Well, basically, I'm going to rephrase the question: was Tacitus forged by Christians? And essentially, no. It's usually Josephus where they try to accuse this. I've never heard this argument for Tacitus. Usually, Carrier argues that Tacitus gets his information from Pliny the Younger, and Pliny the Younger would be an unreliable source. So Tacitus is just getting his information from someone he knew, and is not important. But when you look at how Tacitus wrote his information, he kept track of this stuff.
Yeah, there's a reason he's a very revered historian of antiquity. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this may be false, but I'm pretty sure when you're under a Roman Empire like this, where Caesar thinks he's God, you could probably be executed for being a bad historian anyway.
For what?
For being a bad historian.
Oh, yeah.
That could be blasphemy to Caesar, but if that's actually true, then that's an even more compelling argument for the historicity of the Christ passage. But
the internet would be decimated if that were still policy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find you guilty of bad history.
Well, I literally came across this funny website. History for Atheists. It's by Tim O'Neill,
Yes.
who's an atheist, and it's just funny
Yeah.
because he's an atheist, and all these like what is it? The Library of Alexandria. Apparently, Christians burned that down because of because they're anti-intellectuals and anti-science and so on.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, high-profile people like Carl Sagan and Neil deGrasse Tyson have helped perpetuate these myths. They also Carl Sagan helped perpetuate a whole lot of anti-Christian myths that were basically forgotten about, I believe, by the 1970s when he was doing his thing. But he revived them, like the myth that the Catholic Church ever taught that the Earth was flat, and that the Christians burned down the Library of Alexandria, and all that kind of stuff. I think definitely Carl Sagan had a hand in perpetuating those things.
You're telling me the Earth isn't flat?
Not only is the Earth not flat, the Catholic Church never told you it was. Yes.
Well, I posted a 10-minute video. That's like my first video on just that topic. It's like, because that's the thing. I don't like it how, when people refer to scripture as, being proof for flat earth, because like, there's this one verse that pretty much blows it out of the whole water. And it's Matthew 12:40, which says, so Jonah will be, 3 days and 3 nights in the heart, or in the belly of a whale. So will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. And I posted I went on to this Your Curveless Earth. I went on one of his videos and I commented saying, "Hey, what about this verse?" And the video that he put in the link pretty much had nothing to do with the verse. It just talked about redneck fixes and stuff, because that's pretty much what.
Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about I commented on this guy named Your Curveless Earth. He's a flat earther, and
oh, okay.
Yeah, I used a Bible verse that pretty much debunks the whole flat earth theory, and he posted a video in that comment, and the video had nothing to do with the verse. It had, because that's the thing is, I watched Kent Hovind, and he says he calls them redneck fixes. That's what flat earthers basically use. Hey, I fixed it.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. Hey, I fixed it.
Yeah. It's like they'll get like an antenna, and then
yeah
something. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like when they try.
There are less politically correct terms you can use, but yeah, I get your point.
Yeah. It's like the verses they try and use in Psalms. The four the four corners of the earth.
Yeah, it seems like they don't understand, like, because Psalms is very poetic, and it seems like they don't understand like poetic verses and stuff, because it wasn't the Bible wasn't written in modern day. It was written like centuries ago, like millennium ago. So that's how they pretty much spoke. They like Shakespeare, they used a lot of
good
point. Four corners of the earth as an expression we still use.
Yeah, or like the four corners of the earth. North, south, east, and west.
Yeah, it's the four cardinal directions. But I'm like you guys are talking about I know this from atheists who try to claim the Bible claims the earth is flat. So that's the direction I'm coming. But the other one another one they use is talks about the circle of the earth. And so that contradicts your other verse that you say says that the Bible says the earth is flat, which is that it has four corners.
Yeah, you just
corners and be a circle.
Yeah, you just refer them to Matthew 12:40, and you've just pretty much debunked it.
Yeah, what's that?
You refer them to Matthew 12:40 about the Son of Man will be 3 days.
Okay.
Hearted, because a flat disc cannot have a heart or a core. Just can't. It's impossible.
Well, it's like how they were trying to say that in Genesis 1, the firmament is literally a globe or a dome over the earth, of brass and iron and so on. But that clearly is talking about the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Or just how God has set up creation.
Yeah.
Or in Psalms, Well, it's like the phrase, the trees clap. So really, that can just mean that branches are clanking together and so on, and that's sort of how the four corners of the earth would be.
What's personification?
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's the thing. I mean, you read Job, and it's poetic, but it's just so beautifully poetic.
Yeah.
And when atheists take these single lines and say, "Hey, look, the Bible says that the earth is," it's so ridiculous. It's like, did you even try to read this in context?
Well, Kent Hovind had a theory on how like the flat Earth theory got revived. He think it was by a group of atheists who saw these verses and like, hey, let's see if we can fool Christians, and it's working right now. It's literally working.
To be honest, I've thought the same thing in reverse. That like when poisoning the well is what you call it. When you put a bad idea in something to try to discredit the whole. It's like the whole meme that the Bible is Bronze Age fairy tales. Now, clearly, the Bible, maybe one book of the Bible is from the actual Bronze Age. Otherwise, the Bronze Age.
Yeah, my friend
got such prevalence. It made me think that maybe some Christian tried to insert this into atheism to discredit all of atheism, but unfortunately, none of them realized it was a joke. So it just became common understanding.
Well, yeah. First off, when you say it's from the Bronze Age, so therefore everything about it is ignorant. Yeah. Geez, just say that about Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, all the people in their writings.
The same mistake because that's not Bronze Age either. But yeah.
Well, Bronze Age, isn't that 2000 BC or something like that? Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
But,
my bad. But
biblical authorship and Pythagoras and Plato, well, biblical authorship is over.
Yeah.
Mainly like around 400 BC or something.
Yeah. You know what? That's pretty stupid of me because I should have known that.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with taking Plato because I literally just was reading.
Well, thank God you're not under Caesar right now or you'd be executed. So.
Yeah, true. Last Days of Socrates, and literally I read the introduction and it literally says when Socrates was born and when he died. Of course, going by the Christ myth standards, Socrates didn't exist along with probably Plato as well, but
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I actually met a flat earther in real life. He's the most irritating guy, but he was a flat earther. You're gonna love this guy. And you comment. So JMD, I think you're my Facebook friend. You might see him post on my comments on my statuses now and then. But he's a Jesus mythicist. I mean, he's a flat earther who's also a Jesus mythicist. So, and you're gonna love this too. He's a flat earther who believes not only that the Earth is a plane, it's an infinite plane. So, wow. I guess he believes in actual infinities too. So
yeah,
right there.
That's the thing. Like when you're arguing with the flat earther, it feels so weird. This one comment I had on that video, like I literally just like, okay, I can't argue with you. You're just, I gave you one verse that debunked the whole thing, and yet you still keep arguing. That's the thing is, people. They'll argue about anything. They'll argue that my name is like Dylan. I mean, they argue about the dumbest things. Like, man, why do you got to argue about that? Like,
well, I had one atheist on. I recently just did another podcast with IP. This is probably the 7th or 8th one now at this point. But it was was Jesus copied from pagan gods? And I just had this one comment where you could just tell he didn't even watch the video.
Yeah.
And get the gist of the argument. I literally just posted a comment. Why don't you check out IP's stuff so he can correct your misunderstanding of how history works? And of course, that got 6 thumbs up while all his comments suck. But
literally the same thing happened with me with this. Jeez, I posted an IP video underneath his comment, and he says, "Yeah, I know, it's all myth." I'm like, "You didn't even watch the video."
That's the thing. Like they don't watch the videos. Like they just like. They see the title and then they comment what they think, but they don't even watch the video and see, like, they don't try to get something out of it. They just, it's just like watch the video first before you just start commenting.
Now, like I said, I mean, I think with Jesus mythicism, people have a lot of possible motivations. This guy was kind of coming at it from like a black nationalist thing. So I could tell for him to acknowledge that Jesus was a historical person would be horribly offensive to him for reasons I can't really understand. But it goes into something with like his black nationalism. So I mean, there could be any number of things, you know, motivating them to deny history. It's not just you know ignorance. It's willful ignorance.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and this sort of ties into, you know, do you choose your beliefs and stuff like that? If you don't, then can you be condemned for that? Of course, the Calvinists would say yes, or at least the Reformed Christian apologists would say yes. Yes, I'm throwing shots at him, but anyway, if that's true, then yeah, I grant the premise, sure. But if you're willfully ignorant and you're not willing to be convinced, then that shows that you won't anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
You can also just sort of along the lines of Frank Turk's question, if God were to give you a second chance, would you follow him? If they say no, then that ultimately shows that they're not intellectually.
Yo, I saw a video of where Aaron Raw, like if he knew God was real, like if he actually knew like Christianity were real, like he still wouldn't be a Christian because obviously he hates the God of the Bible.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's been a standard anti-theist line for forever. I mean I think Christopher Hitchens said something like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so DA, I've spotted another contradiction that atheists sometimes use. If you want to hear it, has to do with the ontological argument. So, and the lack of belief atheists, those who claim that atheism is not the proposition that God does not exist, because they're assert you can't disprove a negative or prove a negative, however you want to put that. And the ontological argument, literally, they try to refute by saying God is self-contradictory and can't exist in any possible world, because that's the point of the argument. If it's even possible for God to exist, then he does exist, and they try and show, well, it's not possible for God to exist.
Yeah.
And that's another contradiction with along the lines of the one you point out to me in our very first conversation. Well, things don't begin to exist, but, you know, in subatomic particles, they begin to exist the whole time.
My problem with you putting that as an atheist contradiction is that I don't think it's the same atheists who are saying those things. I think the atheist who would say that God is logically self-contradictory, and so therefore that refutes the premise basically of the.
Well, also your response to Stephen Woodford's video on you can't prove that God doesn't exist, or he does exist, but then he says, oh, you can prove that he doesn't exist with these, I saw your video on that, I feel like he cherry picked those, he doesn't.
When atheists do, can God create a rock so heavy he can't lift it? They're essentially trying to do an ontological disproof of God, which would void their own assertion that you can't prove the negative.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, for the atheists who would object, and I mean, William Lane Craig talks about this, is that the only for academic, atheist philosophers, the only objection they ever have to the ontological argument is that premise that God can exist. Now, for the atheists who are saying that you can't prove a negative, those are not the academic philosophers.
Well, again, this is from my own experience. Again, I've had atheists challenge the ontological argument, but then sort of cognitive dissonance going around where they say, well, I'm still a lack of belief atheist. Or it's just like rationality rules when he says, yes, the atheist can disprove that God exists, but he doesn't have a burden to verify his own claim. I mean, that's a self-contradiction again.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was hardening enough. If you go to the comments of that video, it's like all the atheists are there, like glory, glory, hallelujah. Well, negative. Christians have been telling us this for years, but we never listened to them. Now an atheist tells us, so now we're allowed to believe this thing. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, then you have those people say, "Oh, thank God he's not real." Like, dude, you just contradicted yourself. Like,
well, there's you know,
like I saw this one comment. Oh yeah, I did see that one comment. Like, thank God, like thank God I'm an atheist. Like, I just laugh.
Yeah, it's such an well, I mean, it's an eye roll cliche at this point. I mean, yeah.
Like, there's this one from the flat Earth movement say, "Hey, we now got flat earthers all around the globe," and some guy commented, "Say that again," but very slowly.
I don't know how much of that is a laugh, because it was my understanding years ago that the actual Society of Flat Earthers, or whatever it's called, was really a bunch of atheists having a laugh.
Yeah,
that's what I thought back then. Now, I mean, whether it's taken on legs beyond people, I guess people are taking it seriously now. But from what I was aware of many years ago, it was really just a bunch of atheists.
Yeah.
But who knows? Who knows? I mean, things are so crazy nowadays.
Yeah,
I'm believing things that I thought would have been crazy a few years ago. So,
well, it just kind of came out of nowhere. Like, you know, we weren't expecting it. Like it's like we knew, like, for sure that the Earth was round, but then it just came out of nowhere, and, you know, people started using you know those redneck fixes, and like, hey, that actually makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, the flat earther talking about the you know, redneck fix. There's, like I said, there are other terms you can use. Well, I was like, why do the seasons change? Why does, you know, in the summer the sun go up high and in winter it barely goes?
Yeah.
Oh, well, because the sun is doing like figure eights around the.
Or then you have the argument. Then you have the argument like, well, if the Earth was actually flat, wouldn't the sun light up the whole plane? So it wouldn't be not at all. But then they say, oh, the sun is a spotlight. It does. It's like honestly, like really, dude, like redneck fix.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's really far off. It's really far off. So if there's like anything on the horizon, you wouldn't be able to see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
like, just because you give an answer does not mean it's a smart answer.
No. Well, the point is basically to run down the opponent.
Yeah.
And probably it's a bit profane, but watch the Louis C.K. bit about the kid who keeps asking why. And it's like, you know, at the end of it, it's just the way it is. It's like, because they can't be what they're not.
Don't you know the Earth is a triangle, though?
I thought it was a parallelogram.
No, I like the ice globe theory, because it splits the difference between round Earth and flat Earth, which is that the Earth is flat, but on the plane of a larger sphere. So what is North and South Pole? Basically, we're basically on Hoth, basically. And there's a little tropical circle, and we're in that tropical circle. And so everything around is what we would know as the North and South Pole. So it's actually a round Earth. It's just a much larger round Earth than the one we know. Yes. I like that, because it should make everyone happy.
Yeah, I think this one comedian on YouTube, I got to look up his name real quick, because, you know, sometimes I forget names. Let's see. His name is oh man, I can't find it.
ERB.
Oh, Rich Ferguson. But anyways, he had his Earth is flat, 100% proof, amazing. But it's just comedy. Like, he said how like, oh, if the Earth was like, you know, he had a water bottle and he had a globe. Like, you know, he poured water on the globe. Say, look, you know, you can't have a globe Earth because the water falls off the side. But if you have a plate, look, it stays. And then some guy from the like I guess he had another guy in his video. He's like, well, if the Earth was flat, you know, why doesn't water fall off the side? And he's like, because of mountains, dumb, you know.
Mass. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in fairness, people did not understand that gravity went kind of inwards until maybe not until the time of Newton. They didn't know that there were people on the southern hemisphere.
Yeah.
So they did think that gravity just went down. I think that was the common view back then. Until maybe like the I don't know, but in antiquity, yeah, they did think gravity just went in one direction.
Yeah. Well, I used to think when I was little, I used to think that gravity was like everywhere, like even in space, like you just continue falling forever until you like reach the edge of the universe.
Which brings up all sorts of conceptual problems.
Yeah.
Well, DA, since you're drinking water there, I have a question for you. When was the last times you hit waves?
Yes. I'm the surfer, but I don't believe that. Yeah, I'm flattered. Yeah.
Even though you're in Carolina or something like that, I think.
What's that?
Oh, well, yeah, you're not even near the beach, I think.
We have no, seriously. I actually did a job in Surf City, North Carolina, which is an actual city. I went there during the political season, so all the campaign signs posted up around town said, vote for this guy, mayor of Surf City. And this just sounds like an '80s surfing movie. I'm gonna be the mayor of Surf City. Yeah, but that's an actual city in North Carolina that I think they lay claim to inventing surfing, or at least something like that.
We have a town in Oklahoma called Cookie Town.
It gets weird.
Yeah.
I saw a map of the dirtiest town names from each state. It's amazing that they could call that they still have these towns. They probably have like 12 people in them, but it's still,
yeah.
Have you heard of Ocean City?
Yeah.
Well, it's a city by the ocean, so it's Ocean City. Very clever. Like an atheist argument, very clever.
Oh.
Oh, my bad. They don't make arguments.
Yeah.
Unless you're, academic or whatnot.
Give it a good shake,
Yeah. What else is there to talk about? Oh yeah, Soldier of Christ, or Dylan, what are going to be your future videos?
Well, the top 5 favorite apologists, and also examining evolution. But once I'm done with that series, I'm probably going to do something else like I guess the 7-year tribulation, because I believe in the book of Revelation. I think might as well do a video on it. See, because that's the thing is, you have the 3.5 years of the Antichrist where he makes a covenant with Israel, and then in the middle he breaks it, and then you got the wrath of God. And but so, yeah,
are you a premillennialist then?
Oh yeah, I believe in the millennium reign.
We'll have to have a chat about that. I'm an idealist when it comes to not with quantum mechanics or ideas, but I'm an idealist when it comes to Revelation. Basically, that means that there are big messages in Revelation that are shown through specifics and vague passages and so on. I mean, I had a whole class in Revelation, and I came in with that view, and I have to say I don't hold to that view anymore.
Well, yeah. Specifically because that.
Huh?
You said that there are themes running.
Well, okay. For example, with the beast, for example, beast in Daniel 7 means kingdoms, not actual living beasts and so on. But at the same time, there are references to Rome, so it seems to be the not the historicist or the amillennialist. Trying to remember who holds that all the events in Revelation were fulfilled, before the fall of Constantine and so on. Preterist, I think it is. But at the same time, it makes clear that these kingdoms are all the kingdoms that will persecute God's people. And who are God's people? All Christians around all times. And you just have things like these all throughout Revelation, and the symbolism and so on. And I think the view Dylan takes makes it a bit too literalistic, where you see past the main purpose of revelation. Well, I mean, that would just be another conversation for another time, I guess.
But yeah, well, I do believe there's going to be a second coming because.
Well,
So
did I.
Yeah, because you got many verses saying, you're asleep in the grave until Christ comes back, and so.
Yeah.
That's why he'll have to come back for all of us to go to heaven and.
Well, do you think the soul goes to heaven when you die?
Well, the soul goes back to God.
Yeah, because you also have in Revelation, and each of the, and I believe in the seals and trumpets, you have the calls of the souls of the martyrs who are saying, "When will you avenge us?" and so on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think that does describe God's wrath against those who persecute God's people.
So Dylan, I mean, what do you make of near-death experiences?
Near-death experiences. Well, I think they are visions. Like how Stephen Bankar said. I think they are visions from God. Like, not that they actually really went to heaven, but God gave them a vision.
Yeah.
Of heaven or hell to get them to realize that, hey, this stuff is true. But I don't think they're just random hallucinations because.
No.
I think they're definitely visions from God. You got astral projections and stuff. I think that stuff is very real because Stephen Bankar's had he had a video on that, on how it's that's where Satan realms. He's the prince of the air.
So I mean, what these people would just go back to sleep until Jesus raises the dead again?
Oh yeah, there's many verses that say like you're pretty much asleep into the grave until Christ comes back, and then once he comes back, go to heaven.
This gets into soul and body theology now. Are you saying that the body is dead but the soul goes to heaven, or you're asleep and you don't come alive again until Christ comes and makes you alive?
Well, yeah, because that's the thing is that he's going to give us glorified bodies when he comes back. But I guess that'd have to be because that's the thing. There are definitely verses that say we stay asleep. I haven't studied much upon it because I know a lot of people do believe that we go straight to heaven or straight to hell after we die. But honestly, I just I don't know if you guys watch Bible Flockbox or not, but I've seen, there's only one verse that maybe kind of supports that, but it was a misplaced comma because back then they didn't use when they're writing the Bible, they didn't use commas and stuff. I don't even think they used spaces or anything, but when they were translating it into English, there's this theory that is this misplaced comma. And that's why it seems like, you go to heaven after you die. Because, you had that one criminal who was crucified next to Jesus. And Jesus said, today, how did it go? Today you will be with me in paradise. Yeah.
Well, I will quote from Ecclesiastes when people try and say, essentially, and some Christians are materialists, which is disturbing.
Yeah.
They make an exception for God, which is just special pleading. But at the same time, they're trying to say, well, really, just the soul talks about your overall being, and there's no substance like a self, but your self is just your body, but, the mind is part of your body, or essentially is your brain. There are Christians who claim that. But, when a Ryak spirit, your spirit will return to God, but the body will return to dust since it was made out of dust. Of course, there are times it's translated, you will return to dust since by God you're made by dust, but in the same book that the spirit will return to God, which is Ryak, and meaning self and whatnot.
Yeah, I was on YouTube scrolling past the video of how there's a theory on how your consciousness travels to another dimension, which that dimension would be heaven after you die. And so, that makes sense how your spirit would return to God after you die.
Well, I don't like using the word dimension and stuff like that because that presupposes a space-time thing. But
well,
you can't get into specifics of after death. whether there's signs of after death you can get into, but you can't get into specifics.
Yeah.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, I mean, if you're defining something that is not physically accessible from the space we're in, what does it matter if you're defining it one way or the other? You know.
Yeah. I'm more, when it comes to near-death experiences, I could probably admit that, like the one with heaven is for real, that could be maybe a hallucination. But when it comes to people who the heart monitor has stopped,
like brain death and all.
Yeah. Like Bill Maher, this one guy who wrote a book who was literally brain dead, and he was a neuroscientist, so he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Bill Maher just said, well, it's not possible because it's impossible. Well, that's because it's his materialistic worldview and presupposition.
Yeah.
No reason to take anything Bill Maher says here.
Well, also you have, you know, like how Frank Turk put it, like, you know, let's say you had a near-death experience, and, you know, you saw a shoe on top of a building, and you saw like a wreck on this one intersection, and then they later confirmed that, yeah, there was a shoe on top of the building and a wreck.
That was a case, yes.
And that confirms that materialism is false, because, you know, if you have that, then
and blind people get vision too. I mean,
well, you know, when if you prove all this, the atheists will just say, well, okay, we don't know what it is now, but, you know, it's something natural. It's not anything supernatural.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they'll always think of something, because that's the thing. When you have that amount of pride, you're always going to try to think of a rebuttal, regardless if it works or not.
Flat earthers, yeah.
It's pretty much faith. You know, when you use those type of arguments, you gotta. It's basically, you know, like bandages. You know, you got big wounds, you got to use bandages to, you know. That's you know, minor fixes. But that fixes that don't actually work. That they're just temporary. So you know, somebody you know, debunks that whole idea.
Well, don't you know that faith is just believing what you know ain't so? Mr. Brass 2018, because literally every video or every time I mention faith, that's like I posted a tweet of something about faith. I think it had to do with a verse I quoted, and literally Brass just retweeted my tweet, but with the comment, but faith is believing what you know ain't so. And the White Engine tweeted both me and him at, you know, Brass Wisdom, JMD Apologetics, not so, Mr. Twain. And that goes on every time the word faith is brought up by him, because he's a sarcastic person. I won't use other terms.
Okay. So I mean, Mr. Brass is just purposefully annoying you.
Oh no, we joke around. He's pretty cool. We're friends and stuff like that. He calls me John the Apologist. He calls IP Mike the Inspirer. I think he literally calls you the deflator of atheism.
Yeah, no, he has called me that, deflator. yes.
It's like, well, I mean, deflating atheism it's like sort of an Infinity War, the part where Thor has, I don't know if you saw this in Infinity War. Oh, okay. Or are you planning to see it?
No, I the last superhero movie I saw was Tim Burton's Batman, so that tells you that. I mean, yeah.
Was that the one? Was that the very first one with Jack Nicholson?
1989. Yeah. That was the only superhero. No, I mean,
I have that on VHS, which, even though I'm 20, that still makes me seem old.
Yes. But yeah, I made my choice in name was very deliberate, because I was if I was going to call it like fighting atheism or something, I would make it sound like atheism was the thing that was fighting. So instead, I made it deflating atheism. So it could be a reflexive verb, like, you know, atheism is deflating on its own, or I am deflating atheism. So it would work both ways. Yeah.
Or as science enthusiasts would say, we deflating atheism.
Science.
Oh, the poisoning the well video and stuff like that. I thought those were my two favorite videos of yours.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Did he say I'm deflating the fly? Because he didn't make a YouTube video.
Well, it was
no, yeah. Yeah, he's still doing his thing, and I saw, like, I talked with the guy behind Walk Away, and that was a really popular video. But I later saw what's his name, Dan Broadbent is a science enthusiast. He was perpetuating the Walk Away is just Russian bots. So that's where his evidentiary standards are, that he actually thinks the Walk Away hashtag was created by Russian bots. So at that point, I was like, I don't even have the energy for this, you know.
Yeah. My favorite clip in there was the part where you made it seem like you triggered them, and you just played the clip of an Indiana Jones where their faces are melting.
Oh yeah, with the Price is Right. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. I have to. The idea I was not able. That used to be a video on YouTube of the fail with the Price is Right music, but I had to recreate it because it's apparently no longer online.
I may have to steal that from your video.
Okay. You're free to do that. I can. I also do a little custom, basically bespoke services for making videos too. So I've done that for a few people. But yeah, if you need anything.
With Reformed Christian apologists, he just calls everyone a heretic. So I may, even though this probably would be there's a movie clip in the Superman movie in the beginning, but basically Zod says heresy, and it's so funny how he says it. Makes me think of anytime I get called a heretic from some reformers, or every time they call people heretics. It's their triggered word, just like bigot is or how liberals call bigots people and so on.
Yeah.
People bigots.
Just racist or Nazi or something. Yeah. No, because I heard other Christian YouTubers talk about RC, and RC. There was some atheist YouTuber who also had the initials RC, and so I assumed they were talking about him because they were talking about him in such a contemptuous manner. But it turns out it was Reformed Christian. So yeah, apparently he is notorious.
Well, now
he's going to hear me, who I don't have any dog in this fight, but now he's going to hear me say that and hate me.
He thinks all Catholics are heretics. And he probably thinks you're going to go to hell or something like that. He thinks all Catholics are, or something like that. Just
like I said.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most messed up views ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's if you're saved, you go to heaven. You got to ask Christ into your life, and just ask him to be your Lord and Savior, and you'll go to heaven.
Well, he's also a Calvinist, so you're not able to do that. God has to do that for you.
Calvinist, yeah.
So what's the purpose of the YouTube channel?
This is his inconsistency. It's sort of like with hyper Calvinists say, basically they're nihilist theists in a sense, because if everything is determined, then why should we spread the gospel? That presupposes that you're not determined to spread the gospel in the first place. So that explicitly assumes free will in a sense, because you're saying, well, I ought to be able to do that, but if everything is determined, why should I?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an exact parallel of the atheist view.
Yeah,
and it's always what I wanted to like. I know, like TMM does. He doesn't believe in free will. So okay, so I don't believe in free will. So I have two choices what I can do with my day. I can get on the internet. I can make YouTube videos and try to convince people that there is no free will. Or I could sit on my couch eating Cheetos all day. I know I have more knowledge that at the end of the day I can look back and say it could not have happened any other way. I can't beat myself up for sitting on the couch and not spreading the good word of determinism, because I had no choice in the matter. So That's always, for anyone who's coming at it from any angle who denies free will, that to me is the most apparent inconsistency, is that we have, it's the illusion of choice. I still have the illusion of choice just to sit on my couch with the knowledge that so if no one can live consistently with this view, because we always choose the lazy, we always make the laziest choice. So it's not that we can have this belief and go about our lives the same way.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, epistemically, I think we need free will too, because you have to choose between two options to see which is a more rational proposition.
That's a whole other discussion too, and
well, I'm not
have to lend a little more thought to, quite honestly. Yeah,
of course. Well, I'm not saying that beliefs are relative, where you can just will anything to be true. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We have to have the rationality first off to see whether something is rational. But if our beliefs are determined, then how do you know what's rational to believe in and so on? It's sort of like Alvin Plantinga's argument against naturalism.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If belief is determined, then the truth value of a proposition has no bearing on reality at all. Yeah, or of a belief, rather, I should say.
So you essentially do have to be free to choose to follow things rationally in the first place, which I think you can get the atheist on who says, well, why isn't there enough evidence for God? That's the first part. Then when you do that, you have to have the ability to say this option is a lot more rational to believe in, is more likely to be true. You're not determining it to be true, but you're recognizing it to be true, most likely true. I mean, that's why I say to Shannon Q's question, do you choose your beliefs and stuff like that? I say no, because obviously that would, well, yes and no. It's sort of a compatibilist argument, but at the same time, you can't go too far libertarian, because then you could just choose anything to be true, and truth is out the window. But at the same time, you have to be able to recognize that something is true by the capacity.
Well, every choice is kind of defined by its limitations.
I read one of those cross-examine articles on how, like, if we didn't have free will, then love wouldn't actually be real. It'd just be like oh, my brain chemistry made me love you, like stuff like that.
Yeah, no one can live consistently with that view.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's of course exactly why God created us. He didn't create us to, he didn't force us to love him, because, like, let's just say, like, I were to walk up, like, let's just say I were in a relationship with a girl, like, I wouldn't force her to love me, or else I wouldn't be loving. Like, or she wouldn't do the same thing. That's why, God has to give us free will, or else he really isn't loving, because he'd be forcing us to love him, and that'd be,
Then the Calvinists will say, well, it's for his glory, but that's not an argument in the first place. That's just an appeal to emotion, I guess. But I could just say, well, it's even more glorifying, if that's your standard, then it's even more glorifying to give a creature the capacity of free will, and instead of forcing people. I mean, if you have to force people to believe in you and stuff like that, then it seems sort of petty. That's sort of my view of Calvinism, in a sense. But at the same time, if you can freely get people to believe in you and so on, then that glorifies you a lot more. You actually get people to love you instead of forcing people to love you in the first place. And that's sort of how marriage is. And that's why I think Christ and Paul uses the wedding analogy for the church, essentially, because if it's determined, then it makes no sense.
Yeah, and we have to underline here that we're using this language analogically when we say, God needs us to love him. He doesn't need us to love him in the way the main person would need to be loved. Yeah.
Well, if God is in a Trinity, then you have that problem, because essentially is God needing something like love? Because otherwise, God is dependent upon something. He needs something in order to have an attribute of being loving and so on, which I think Muslims can have a problem with. But, on the Trinitarian view, God is, even though it can be confusing, you have a tri-personal being who's one being in three persons, like the Father is not the Son not the Son, and the Spirit is neither of the two. So you have this personal relationship, but yet you're one being, which is not contradictory, just really hard to wrap your mind around. I like IP's video on where he shows that, you know, a tesseract, it's hard to fathom, but it actually can exist and so on.
Yeah.
Or, the fourth dimensional video.
I watched that ontological argument just today, a few hours ago, about, you know, how that if God was a Trinity, and yes, you know, love did exist before He created the universe.
Well, yeah, you can just ask the question: why did God create the universe in the first place? Was it out of an act of love, or personality? I guess you could say.
Well, yeah, He wanted, you know, he wanted children. He wanted children, and.
Well, why is it necessary to know why God would do something? That's too. That's not even an essential task of apologetics.
Like what?
It's almost more dangerous to presume to know certain things. Yeah. That's why even with Christians who are not, you know, philosophers, and they post things sometimes. I see. You know, God just wants us to be happy, and He wants you to know that. You can't just assert what God wants or what God, you know, that you get into a whole lot of danger with that, in my opinion.
Well, if you misspeak God on purposely, and you know it's not from God, then I think we call that blasphemy. But you know, have fun.
I also think people throw the term blasphemy around too loosely as well. But yeah.
Heresy.
You're a bad historian.
Oh, man. Funny stuff.
Yeah. So, you guys want to wrap it up?
Unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
I don't know. We've been doing this for like an hour.
True. Well, did you leave the link to Dylan's channel?
Hey, you know, I watched Inspiring Philosophy's video on the afterlife, and I saw this guy Light Matter 5252 was speaking.
Dark Matter, yeah.
I'm kind of confused. I got confused about that, like, because I know Dark Matter's been creating videos for like 10 years, and when that video was uploaded, you know, that was like just like 5 years ago when Inspiring Philosophy. So is Light Matter like a different person than Dark Matter, or?
Oh, it may just be some troll. Troll would be pretty funny.
Yeah.
What does it
come
from, like a Christian angle or something?
Yeah, his name is Light Matter 5252, and he was speaking in.
That's a troll of atheists, which is pretty funny.
Okay. But this is going back years.
Well, I mean, 5 years ago he said so, I guess.
Well, when Inspiring Philosophy uploaded that video on the afterlife, I guess it was a response to these atheists who created a video on the afterlife.
Might have been IP himself. That's what I'm thinking.
Who's Inspiring Philosophy again?
What's his name?
No, I have no clue who you guys are talking about.
Are you pulling our leg? No, Inspiring Philosophy.
I am.
Jeez. That's not even a joke, dude.
Who is Inspiring Philosophy?
Am I in the Matrix right now?
Yeah. Just randomly forget things. That's a good way to annoy people. So, Soldier of Christ, why don't you tell us about your YouTube channel?
Well, you know, it's just, I guess I just wanted to start, you know, by kind of presenting the gospel and just, you know, like, I like to deal with, you know, apologetics. I like doing history too, but I need to study more on history and stuff, and also prophecy and, you know, science and stuff like that. Because, you know, but you know, I've always been interested in, you know, YouTube even before I decided to become a apologist. You know, I'd upload videos, like I'd play when I was young. I'd play like video games a lot, and
Breaking
but I
up.
deleted those channels. And yeah, but I was
You were breaking up there, so I couldn't hear your last.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was uploading videos of me, playing my games, but I deleted those channels, so now I just have the Soldier of Christ.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I didn't want to be just Anchor Apologetics, because I also wanted to upload videos about, like, how God loves us, and how, just so, pretty much. I'm like, how Mad Love talks about, a lot of things, like, apologetics, and how God loves you, and that's why I really like Daniel and what he does, because I see how as Christian apologists, we have really small channels, we don't have like tons of subscribers, like Rationality Rules or Jacqueline Glenn, or but.
Well, I've heard Jacqueline Glenn has become
even they're small fries in the bigger YouTube universe.
Yeah.
They're not PewDiePie or someone like that. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you even have Amazing Atheist. He has like what, 1 million subscribers.
That's 1 million, which is really respectable, and he would not be able to do that in this day and age. No.
Well, I don't really think that's because of his atheist videos. Probably more of his feminist videos and other stuff he does.
Well, no, because he was getting a big boost in the early days of YouTube, and I mean that's when YouTube atheism was first. The whole anti-feminism, anti-SJW thing, that was like 3 or 4 years ago. He was well established by then.
Oh, I think one of his more popular videos was like 33 reasons why feminism is stupid or something like that. And by feminism, third wave feminism.
Yeah. Well, again, I don't follow that stuff, so I'll take your word for it. But yeah.
So you're not a first wave feminist?
I tuned out around Elizabeth Cady Stanton or whatever. Yeah, it's back when feminists were pro-life. That's when I was a feminist. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the YouTube channel is called Soldier of Christ.
Yeah, just the only reason I changed the name, because I wanted to talk about more, topics besides just apologetics and stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought Soldier of Christ would be a better fit.
There's a danger. It's something I always tell JMD. It's when you only do apologetics, you run the risk of dignifying atheist arguments. If all you do is deal with atheist arguments, you kind of give the impression that atheist arguments are somehow substantial, which they are. So yeah. So that's why I always recommend is make it personal, have a little fun with it, but geez, don't give the atheists what they want. Is they want you to think of them as these intellectual overlords, and they just have you cowering before their intellectual might.
Well, that's the thing. I make videos for Christians, so they can have their faith strengthened in God, or maybe even agnostics, get them converted. But not like I don't even intend for atheists to even come on there, just for Christians. But if they want to come on there and troll me around, go ahead. I don't care. Just go ahead.
I never really figured out who my audience is. I mean, am I trying to convince atheists? Am I doing this for the entertainment of Christians? I never really worked that out. I just kind of say whatever's on my mind and just throw it out there into the middle ground.
Yeah, just.
Well, the purpose of my channel is to
obviously
bring up the lofty and speculations against the knowledge of Christ to fulfill Christians' faith and give them more good reasons to believe, and see why the reasons that are proposed otherwise are not as good and convincing.
That's why what Frank Turek does is so good, because like the old expression, it's like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Basically, I think like an ounce of preventative apologetics is worth a pound of curative apologetics, which is basically once they get to that point where, again, I'm going to use a little psychologizing here, and you could jump on me for this. But when they get deep into atheism, it gets into a point where their self-esteem and their self-image and their entire conception of themselves is so deeply embedded in atheism that it's really hard for them to pry themselves out of it. So I think the real use of apologetics is to prevent them from ever getting to that place in the first place. So I kind of agree with what you're doing, and why I think that's you need to get apologetics to kids when they're young.
Well, yeah, because like if you have kids, like I hate it when people say, "Oh, just give them a choice, let them believe what they want to believe." Like I want to teach them the truth, not just let them like. That's why we got to give them apologetics, because that we live in a secular society today where they're always they're trying to always attack the Bible, but it's funny how it just doesn't work, because there's this one guy in the 1800s who said, "Oh, in 100 years from now, the Bible will be a forgotten book." Well,
that was Voltaire.
Ironic, ironic.
1700s, yeah.
Yeah, ironically, 100 years later, his homestead was being used to print Bibles. So nanny nanny boo boo in Jesus' name.
Yes. Well, I mean, God always buries his undertakers, and people have been saying that all Christianity would be a vestige of the past for 300 years now.
Well, yeah,
it's hilarious when they say, "Oh no, it's gonna like communism. It's always like it's gonna work this time," and it never does.
Yeah, I the creator of the Titanic said, "Oh, the ship is so strong, God Himself could not sink it."
Yes,
that's exactly why the Titanic sunk, because you mocked God. You just don't do that, because if you mock God, he's gonna prove you wrong. He's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, send an iceberg."
Well, if we want to appeal to something like that, I think I would take more of the perspective that it's God sort of laughing at stupid speculations, because it wasn't God that took down the iceberg. It was literally just an iceberg, or the Titanic. I literally messed up my phrasing there. I said the iceberg took down the iceberg. It was just an iceberg that took down the Titanic. Imagine if God Himself wanted to take it down. It would be like ex nihilo out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're conspiracy theories.
Yeah, he could have also sent like a big tsunami their way too. But
we are not advocating the position that God purposefully sank the Titanic. That is not.
Oh no, yeah, it's just it's funny how like when you mock God, and then God gets the last laugh when I just think it's I just like like Voltaire, how he said the Bible will be a forgotten book. I just started laughing when his home was being used to print Bibles. Like,
yeah, it's a rich irony. It's an irony that you see again and again and again.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. So let's have last words here. Just go to Sold1er Of Chr1st.
Yeah, well, maybe we can do like, I don't know, like we could do a response video, like we can have a big collaboration, like Inspiring Philosophy, maybe even like Mad Love and me, you, and JMD, and maybe other apologists, and we can all like respond to this this atheist video, or
okay,
just a suggestion, but I think it'd be a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I actually don't know who this Mad Love guy is you keep talking about.
Oh, you should check out his channel. He's a pretty cool guy. But
okay.
Yeah,
to YouTube.
Yeah, JMD had a whole discussion with him.
Okay. Jesus, guy. Yeah, I'm out of loop. I watch Trisha Paytas videos in my time off. I get burnt out of dealing with atheists,
Yeah, it's just funny. But yeah, we could all have a collaboration and just respond to the video and give our opinions and views on it, because.
So I just realized I was trying to talk. I thought I got.
Oh yeah, I saw you muted. I saw you muted.
Yeah, I muted. I thought I got you know, getting interrupted and stuff, I was just like, can I talk? Oh, I muted myself. I shut myself.
We're just ignoring you, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you? Oh yeah, you heard the conversation. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I was just going to say about Mad Love. When I talked to him, he didn't seem as over dramatic like he is in his videos. I mean, he's just a chill dude. Like oh, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just going to say, yeah.
I've been planning a discussion with him. Like, I was hoping that if he was available tonight, like he could have come on the discussion, but I never got a reply back from him. But I'm probably going to have a discussion with him soon, just, you know, about like the random topics we're talking about right now. Because he seems like a really cool guy to, you know, just talk with him. But yeah, I've always liked this channel. I think he really approaches, you know, the gospel in a really, you know.
Well, he's definitely a better apologist than me because he uses gentleness and respect. I sometimes go out full fury on some people, and I sort of get lost in track in that. And it's sort of like how DA was talking about before with not just making it purely apologetics in the sense of trying to always win the argument and stuff like that. That's something I run into a lot.
Yeah.
I deal with anger all the time. That is a constant issue for me. And you notice I try not to deal with atheists in text because I always fly over.
That's the thing, like, you know, like when I was just commenting on videos, like you always have those, like, honestly, I think it's kind of pointless to just like comment on somebody else's comment. Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
Honestly, you only see the atheist doing it. Well, I should take that back. You know, everybody does it, but honestly, what's the point of it? Like,
yeah. Well, that's why I always tell Christian apologists, don't waste your time trying to win a comment war. Take whatever it is you're trying to say and make a video, because at least that will stand up to time. Nobody will even remember the comments a week from now. You know,
that's the thing. If you just ignore, like, if you don't even like acknowledge them, like they'll realize that it's just useless trying to comment on your video because you won't acknowledge them. But you, like, that's the thing. You know, you want to acknowledge your, you know, your fans and stuff. You want to get out with them and, you know, make them feel welcome, because, you know, Mad Love, he responds to videos like, you know, Atheist Minority and Hemet Meta, but he also like he's got some my internet's slow. Yeah, answering atheists, rants, Christian apologetics, apologetics and Christian living, Christian countdowns, encouragement, live prayer streams, marriage. Yeah, he talks about a lot of things, and that's why I really like his channel.
Yeah. Just anything where where I don't have to deal with atheists one-on-one. Honestly, I kind of
like he doesn't seem like the type of guy. Like, I don't think he ever deals with, you know, the trolls on his channel, because, you know, you're always gonna have them just because, you know, they want to be, you know. You're always going to have them. But as Christians, I don't think, like, we should be, like, trolling atheist videos. Like, we should just, like, that's the thing. Like, I never go onto an atheist video and, like, start trolling them. You know, I just ignore it because, you know, like, that's the thing. Like, if they really, like, because that's the thing. They believe everything's going to end up in death. So why are they wasting their whole life trying to prove something you get nothing out of but death?
The way I rationalize it, like I say, I mean, I don't do this all day long, but it does happen. I try to think that I'm just what William Lane Craig would say, you know, putting the stone in their shoe, you know, or just planting a seed of doubt or something. And unfortunately, I can't find a way without flying into anger. I fully admit, I mean, I deal with anger, so I mean.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I got really upset. I was watching one of Kent Hovind's videos, and at the end, he showed a I guess it was from one of Lawrence Krauss's books or whatever. But he was saying, oh, the reason why you're here is because a star exploded, so you can forget about Jesus. And I was so upset. Like, I was like, man, if I could see him if I could see Lawrence right now, I would just, you know, punch him in the face. But of course, I wouldn't do that because, you know, I'm a Christian. I don't try to do those, but you get angry. That's the thing is, when you have people like that who say, oh, you don't like what Lawrence Krauss said, and I was just, I seriously wanted to punch him in the face, but it's just,
yeah. Well,
that's the thing.
Thankfully, we don't seem to be hearing a lot from Lawrence Krauss these days, and so.
Well, I think he was charged with like what, sexual assault or something. I've been seeing that.
Harassment, yeah. But even before then, he had been kind of gone for a while, but yeah, I mean, I guess just the interest wasn't there, because I thought for a time he was trying to be drafted to fill Christopher Hitchens' empty seat at the table of 4 Horsemen, but I think I just stopped hearing about him.
Yeah.
And I guess he would just, I don't know. No one was interested in promoting him.
I guess he just quit or something. I don't know. But.
Yeah. Because he only had one gag, and that was that something can come from nothing because nothing is unstable.
Like he said, he says mathematical proof. You get a universe from nothing. Like, honestly, like from absolutely nothing. Like, you have the quantum environment, you have particles, popping in and out of existence, but that's not from nothing. That's from like this, a quantum field of energy. It's not from literally nothing. It's not like my phone's just gonna pop out of existence one day and I'm gonna be freaking out about it. That's the thing. I like joking with my friends, like, oh, what if your shirt just popped out of existence one day and you went around shirtless? Like, dang it, I lost my shirt.
Yeah, things happen for with no, completely causeless. You would have to be a really committed, indoctrinated atheist not to be able to see the problems with that. So I mean,
and that's the thing. That's the thing. Like a dot of like nothing or energy, like it's not going to explain like consciousness or morality or free will,
or physical phenomena for that matter. I mean,
yeah, but they're going to make up. They're going to use redneck fix. That's the thing. Atheists use redneck fixes too. I mean,
yeah,
it's funny.
Duct tape is helpful though.
Yeah, duct tape is. Yeah.
Just duct taped everything together, and then one day it just comes crumbling down. Yeah.
Well, that's sort of what the God of the Gaps argument is. Just like we're trying to duct tape this. We don't have an answer now, but we'll eventually do.
Well,
assuming your own premise.
I honestly can say I don't see a whole lot of Christians using God of Gaps arguments. I think the God of Gaps is a straw man.
Well, I was saying when they use the God of the Gaps argument. Lofty speculations.
The God of the Gaps argument is what we should call that. Yeah.
Well, it's by definition an argument from ignorance, which is sort of funny because that's sort of the purpose of it, is to say you're appealing to stuff you don't know. But we're going to appeal to stuff we don't know either, too. So.
Yeah.
Well,
so, what are you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say it was a pretty good chat. What I would just say is that, Dylan, when you get more into apologetics, expect the atheist.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's the thing is, I don't take time to acknowledge atheists. I just, I want to acknowledge my fans, but of course you got, when your phone sends you that notification, you see that comment, and you just roll your eyes like, whatever, dude, but then you got your fans, so you want to acknowledge because you want to make them feel welcome, so they can recommend your channel to other people. But that's the thing, I just I ignore them.
Responses.
Haters.
When I'm out of the house, I don't want to be thinking about YouTube.
That's the thing. There's a guy. I was watching this one guy on YouTube on how to successfully start a YouTube channel, and he describes haters as hating everyone. How did it go? Hating people who are trying to reach success. I forgot how he put it, but that's pretty much what a hater is. They just they're jealous because you see them with no subscribers. They're just watching your video and
yeah. And then they go on my channel and mock, you know, my number of subscribers or the number of likes. They'll also use that a lot. That they'll use the argument ad populum, say, oh, you know, this has more dislikes. You know, you don't have enough subscribers, and that will be their argument. So expect that. And play all sorts of mind games just to try to convince you to get off YouTube, and that's their.
Yeah. Mr. Spark had a video on like, you know, these funny atheist comments. Like, there was this one specific guy who kept trolling him. Like, you know, he kept saying, "Oh, not an argument, dude, not an argument." But yeah, I don't know what's up with Mr. Spark. Is he still posting videos, or it seems like he hasn't posted a video in like a year?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen him, because he used to also regularly post comments to my videos too, and I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah. Well, I did like his video. I don't know if he made this up, but there was this video where this atheist said, "Oh, you know, paint dries, so therefore God does not exist." Like, honestly, I just started laughing. I'm like, what does paint have to do with God? And like, I don't know if he just made that up, like just to troll the atheist. But you know, I thought it was funny still. Like, if an atheist actually tried to use that argument, like, yeah, you know, paint dries, therefore God can't exist because he wouldn't allow paint to dry. Like, dude, you need help. You need help, dude.
Yeah. You need Jesus.
Yes.
You need Jesus. But yeah, I like watching Mr. Sparks videos too, but I don't know what's.
Well, he's the perfect what would you call that? Not copycat. Oh, perfect troller of atheists, because he copies their tactics with making videos. He doesn't really make his own stuff. He just compiles other people's stuff.
Yeah.
To mock them, like how some atheists do. And
yeah.
And then he uploads like 3-hour lectures by Hugh Ross and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sentinel Apologetics, they need to work on what they upload. They just upload lectures and stuff like that, which is like, should do more of your own content.
Yeah, I'm amazed that some YouTube channels even stay up when they just like upload copyrighted content, you know.
Yeah.
But yes, I think we will sign off now. But everyone go visit Sold1er Of Chr1st YouTube channel. Of course, JMD Apologetics is doing his thing, and I am Deflating Atheism, and Deflating, just same YouTube channel name. So have a good night, everyone.
See ya.